Hi everyone, I'm Rae and this is...
And I'm Brian, and together we specialise in the garden retail supply sector, particularly commercial roles.
And on this episode of the More People Podcast, we are going to explain how we recruit in garden retail and the horticulture supply chain. And we're also going to talk about our look back on industry trends in 2025, recruitment highlights, and what's next in 2026. Can you believe that it's already almost 2026?
Feels like yesterday. We were at the GEMA conference back in February. Already GEMA Awards around the corner, and back end of the year.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. I think what we want to talk about today is which were our busiest roles, how many roles that we had in certain areas. I think for me personally, I found that there were a lot of roles within sales and account management in the beginning of the year. It slowed down a little bit at the end of the year. I mean, we still have about 3 months left. Not sure when this podcast is being released. But as of right now, there's been a lot more sales roles. How about for you?
Yeah, despite challenges in the sector, sun's been shining most of it, and we've been keeping busy. So plenty of opportunities there. More exciting roles to finish up the year, no doubt. I know we've always said sort of November, typically the busiest one in terms of recruitment within this sector. So yeah, strong finish of the year, no doubt as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been interesting too that we've not really seen that many buyer roles this year. I think hopefully in 2026 we'll see a lot more buyer roles.
Yeah, I mean, with your you wrote a great blog on it. The amount of buyers that are moving into sales leaves the holes for those buyers who do move into sales, and the transferable skills that are there as well. So, you know, honing in on the garden retail supply chain, all the commercial roles that we've been looking at, that's not just people selling into garden centres. It's also, you know, the category managers for garden centre groups, or your buying positions, plant buyers. So there's a nice crossover with that whole sector, and really honing in on that network. So yeah, we shall see what next year looks like as well in that front, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this year we faced a lot of challenges. I know that with hiring managers specifically, it was, you know, the national living wage and the national insurance increases were really tough. And I think people thought, I know when we were getting calls in that people were saying, I know it's probably been a slow year for you guys, but I actually think it was our best year as a desk so far.
Yeah, as you know, I think we spoke about before, the amount of plans that hiring managers had, or businesses had, whatever roles it were, because of the increase on national living wage and national insurance, you know, plans had to change, unfortunately. So what was maybe planned in and teed up for the beginning of 2025 didn't quite play out that way. But as you said, I think, you know, we've kept very busy this year. There's a lot of good candidates that we're built up good relationships with. There's still been a lot of exciting opportunities, and a few that spring to mind where, you know, whether it's been retained roles working with clients or exclusivity, and building up those relationships still makes us and keeps us very busy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we should talk about next is the wins and challenges of this year to kind of keep on trend with that. So I don't know if you want to start off with some of the wins for you personally or us as a desk.
You know, we've really honed in on, the garden retail supply chain, working closely with GEMA. We've, you know, soon from today's date, we're co-hosting another GEMA dinner, a GEMA President's Dinner, where there'll be a whole range of directors there, walking around Glears. I think we've spoken about as well, comparing it to the previous year and the year before that, how many people you really do know and sort of recognize you straight away, because, you know, you build them good relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our collaboration has come leaps and bounds this year. I think collaborating with GEMA, I know that we are doing a lot with them to keep ourselves relevant in the industry and kind of shout our names. I think because we're a newer player in the industry, I mean, I say new, we've been in it for 3 years now. I think we're doing a good job of really partnering up and showing what we're capable of, and letting people know that this is what you and I focus on. And that's, you know, anything commercial, sales, procurement, category management within the garden retail supply chain. So as a recruiter within the industry, I think we have a deeper trust with our clients. I think we're proving ourselves a little bit more and showing them what we're capable of and the quality of candidate that we bring in. I think, you know, not to shout out any competitors at all, but I think, you know, a lot of people have a certain idea of recruiters within the industry, and I think we're doing a good job of showcasing the talent pool that we have and the connections that we have within the industry.
Yeah, I think, I'd like to say a lot of positive feedback from candidates in terms of the way they work with us and sort of that candidate journey of, okay, well, either if I'm open-minded and looking for a new role or, I really do need a new role, that the regular communication and making sure we're doing everything we can to support.
I don't know for you, but for me, I think we were hit with a lot of counteroffers. So I know a lot of my candidates were presented with a counteroffer after they were offered a job through ourselves. And I think that was a challenge for me to navigate through, how to walk them through that, to showcase that, most of the time, if you are presented with a counteroffer and you accept it, you still leave that business within 6 months. So I think counteroffers, people are seeing the value in their staff and wanting them to stay.
It is something that you learn from, and we've all been hit with before in terms of, a lot of work goes into it from a candidate as well, who then decides they want to stay put because of a few thousand extra that's been put on the table, for example. It's about the opportunity, job satisfaction. There's various other factors than money. So yeah, many candidates have looked at the counter offers, but thank you. I'm moving on up into my next journey. So
yeah, I think just kind of looping it all back together, I think really the challenges, with national insurance and everything, people are less likely to move right now. So when they are just deciding to move and take that chance, they're more serious about it. So I think that's helped with counteroffers too. They're not as likely to take a counteroffer because they really sat and thought this decision through, as opposed to maybe last year when people were just reaching out for the sake of reaching out, just to kind of see what the market was looking like. People are more strategic this year in 2025.
do you have any of these weird or wonderful, exciting stories, candidate journeys, client journeys, processes this year?
Yeah, actually, I had a really, really interesting one. It was actually a retained role for a family-run business. We had seen this business at Glee last year in 2024. Saw them as a, really good potential client, didn't know too much about them, did our research, introduced ourselves, and then here we are in 2025. And they worked with us on a retained project to secure a senior management level position. And yeah, it was really challenging to kind of find the dynamics of the family and the business and work all that into how to make the role, look appealing to somebody who was going to be the right fit and fit in with the team, but also understand the family dynamics. And I think overall that was an interesting recruitment process, but in the end it worked out really well. And, they have someone starting with them. And I think overall it just really showed me, how it's so important to understand the client, but not just on the surface level, really go in depth, understand those dynamics, understand family dynamics, understand, while they were ideally looking for somebody within the industry, we actually had to take a bit of a sidestep outside of the industry, which then opened up a whole new Pandora's box for candidates and what that looks like. So I think overall, that role, while it was challenging, it was the most fun for me to work on throughout the year because there were so many different pieces and so many different elements that you had to kind of bring them all together and work really hard to kind of get the perfect culture fit, but also the right fit for the business moving forward. So that was a really interesting one. And considering they weren't even a client of ours in 2024 was, was really great.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, as you say, we've got our core roles when we look back on what we place. You've got a lot of area sales managers, account managers at different levels. But yeah, as you say, I think it's the weird and wonderful roles within these clients that we build up. Think of one where they were urgently needing an e-commerce manager and someone to head in that with no industry experience required. And it's quite nice to be able to bring people into the industry from outside as well, whether that's more junior level roles where, you need to have a desire to progress within the sector, but not necessarily, having a black book of contacts, as a lot of people refer to. But yeah, so there are the weird and wonderful roles as well, which can be a bit more challenging or different in terms of your approach and your route to market. But yeah, it's definitely something that you understand the business, then you can understand the type of person that fits it and you interview against that. So it definitely helps when you build these good sort of meaningful relationships with your clients as well, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to wrap up, do you have any predictions or hopes for 2026?
Referring back to what I said earlier, the visit to Glee, it's the holy grail where everyone within the garden retail sector, they're exhibiting there or visiting. Being in that room and really understanding that more and more people and more people recognizing you, is a sign of what your impact is on that sector and the relationships you've built. So I think in simplistic terms, you know, thinking I want to be more well known when I visit Glee next year is an easy way of looking at it, rather than going into, you know, specifics of all the wins that we want to get next year. That's a nice easy one for me, I think. What about yourself?
For me, I think you know, I hope 2026 brings more live roles, in the sense of it was a little bit quieter this year in terms of, you know, we have this position that we need you to fill. It was more getting creative and introducing clients to really good candidates and then creating roles for them. I think now that 2026 is, you know, very close, I think we'll be working on more live roles, in the sense of businesses have a need for a specific person. We have to go out and find that person. I think that's kind of the fun part of this job, is to really match up those people. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, 2026, because it's been a little bit quieter in 2025 in the sense of, you know, needing a very specific type of role, I think we'll see that more in 2026.
So this has been a bit of an introduction to me and Rae, which is our first podcast together. Hopefully first of many. And
let us know, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Make sure that you tell people how much you love Brian and Rae. And there's going to be a quiz after this too, so make sure you study hard.
Yeah, we'll make sure there's a quiz somehow.
But yeah, thank you guys, and hope you enjoyed listening to our episode of the More People Podcast.
Cheers.